Redshirt freshman CJ Carr has won the starting quarterback position for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish entering the 2025 season, edging out talented signal caller Kenny Minchey. But I want to go deeper here. Let's talk timeline. Let's talk backstory. Let's talk about how Carr was able to beat out Minchey. Ryan Roberts from A to Z Sports breaking down everything Notre Dame football. Folks, got a huge announcement on Tuesday when it was announced that redshirt freshman quarterback CJ Carr had beaten out Kenny Minchey for the QB1 position for the Fighting Irish heading into their season opener against the Miami Hurricanes. First and foremost, congratulations to CJ. This was a heated battle, a lot more heated than some people are going to want to admit to themselves. He had the battle, he had to close strong, and he was able to get this thing done. But I want to talk about a little bit of the backstory here because this was the first truly open quarterback competition that we've had in several years, and the most controversial one, probably you have to go back to Malik Zaire versus Deshaun Kaiser going into the 2016 college football season. So a lot of intrigue here, and a lot of conversations, and a lot of conversation points, and a lot of misnomers and context we need to really hit here. So I want to hit a little bit of a timeline. I want to take you back to spring football when this was a Kenny Minchey versus CJ Carr versus Steve Angeli competition. And at that point, there were a lot of people that thought conservative approach from Marcus Freeman might pull towards a Steve Angeli. Some thought if they didn't go conservative, it was going to be CJ Carr, the young gun, the former borderline 5-star recruit out of the state of Michigan. We know the backstory there. Well, obviously, they didn't go with the Angeli routes, and I was very happy that they didn't go the Angeli route because that means that you were going to let two very talented young quarterbacks battle it out. Now, after the spring, there was kind of a perception out there, at least for most, that CJ Carr was the unquestioned leader of this quarterback battle. Well, I've talked to some people, and some people that opinions matter very much, that have kind of stated that Kenny actually had arguably the better spring comparative to CJ. So there was momentum building for the redshirt sophomore quarterback leaving the spring. Both players reportedly have had great winters and leading up to the fall camp and have taken nice steps forward from a leadership perspective, consistency perspective, which led us to the fall, which was going to be a neck and neck battle. We are on an even playing field. Redshirt freshman versus redshirt sophomore. Let's see who ultimately wins out. After the first week, started hearing last Tuesday that it appeared that Kenny Minchey might actually have a slight lead in this battle. And not one to the degree of that CJ Carr cannot come back and cannot finish this one out in the end, but just simple as that Kenny was doing really well, doing a good job, being a more consistent version of himself, and he was slightly favored potentially in this quarterback competition. And throughout that week, day by day, that feeling got stronger. And whether you are a supporter of 247 Sports Notre Dame page, or you like Irish Breakdown, or wherever you frequent, the sentiment was kind of the same, that Kenny was gaining a lot of steam and a lot of momentum, so much so that most people were reporting leaving this weekend that Kenny Minchey was the guy that they were predicting as of then to be the starting quarterback for Notre Dame. And on Tuesday, again, this took some people by surprise when Notre Dame Twitter put out there that CJ Carr was QB1 for the Fighting Irish. Outlets were blindsided. Some parts of the fan base were blindsided. Some people around the Notre Dame program were even slightly blindsided by this news. And I want to kind of just put this out in the universe because this was not a CJ Carr led from start to finish. This was not a foregone conclusion. Until very recently, people thought that Kenny Minchey was the leader in the clubhouse, and it was strengthening. And some of the reasons why it was strengthening was, one, Kenny's very talented. Has a little bit more of a dual threat presence compared to CJ. He's not a Riley Leonard runner, but he can run, he can move, he's a good athlete overall, has some arm talent, obviously, and the talent is there. But one thing that people wanted to see Kenny take a step forward is he's been kind of called a reserved personality to a degree. So people kind of wanted him to bust out of his shell a little bit, right? Be a little bit more of an assertive leader for Notre Dame. And we saw that, right? We saw the growth behind the scenes. And that was two of the major reasons why he was in the driver's seat for part of this competition, but was in it until the very end. Now, credit to CJ. A lot of young quarterbacks down the stretch there. If you're going into last weekend, coming out of the weekend, because let's be honest, people hear things, right? And they read things, and listen to things. And it's very easy for a young quarterback to say, oh man, I'm losing this battle, and to tuck your tail between your legs and just kind of bail out a little bit. Well, CJ didn't do that. By people that I've talked to, he had a very strong ending to this battle, and he was able to finish this one out ultimately in the end over the last couple of days. So credit to Kenny, made this a battle. And another thing for Kenny, you need to stay ready, because if anything happens, poor play, injury, whatever it is, God forbid, you're going to have to be ready to play, because you can still be a very important member of this team. But for CJ, the deck was stacked against you down the stretch. You were able to come around on top. There was a growing part of the fan base and some parts of just Notre Dame in general that thought Kenny was going to finish this one out, and the redshirt freshman did not back down. Folks, put in the chat right now, how excited are you for CJ Carr being the quarterback one for the Fighting Irish going into the first game against Miami? How excited are you for Notre Dame football? We're less than 2 weeks away from Notre Dame kicking off on the 31st against the Hurricanes. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe on your way out. And as always, go Irish.